You are now about to prepare to take a performance-based assessment for Unit 6. Before we get started, you need your tools. Those tools are your pencil, your paper, as well as your iPod or your technology device to help you to be able to hear what Ms. Jones is saying. If you need any help, please raise your hand. Before we get started, Ms. Jones would like for you to write your name at the top of this paper. Your paper may be slightly different, so please be very patient and follow the directions given. If you need to go back, of course, you can always rewind. If you need to stop, please push the pause button. But always, if you need help, please let Ms. Jones know. After you have written your name, we're ready to get started. Daria drew a picture of the house on her street. She put the house number below in a circle. She put the house number below in a circle. So here you have 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. I apologize, your paper is not colored. It is in black and white. But you should be able to see the numbers written inside the circles, as you see here. So, what is it that they want us to know? Let's move on and see. Hold tight. The question reads, choose a house number. Represent the house number in the boxes below. So you can choose any of these house numbers, and Ms. Jones would like for you to circle your house and your house number. Then what you need to do is tell us what number you chose. So whichever number you circled up here, you need to put the number here. It says I chose house number, and you represent that number here. And on this side, what you're going to do with that same house number is show it in some kind of way. Just like we've been working with place value and numbers and decomposition, you're going to show how you would write that number. The first number is written for you. So if you circle number 16, you would think about your place value and then tell us how many tens and how many ones equals your number. Nothing different. Then once you're done with that, I'm sorry, I'm moving a little bit too fast. Here it says I can show the same number that you circled earlier. You're going to put that number here, and you're going to show it using your, what do we call these? Yes, that's right, your tens frame. So you're going to shade in how many tens framed will represent your number. So we shouldn't see anything different in these three boxes. Once you have done that, you may move on to number 2. Okay, you see circles at the bottom of your first page? Don't worry about that. Again, you see houses there, and Ms. Jones have also written the numbers underneath of those houses, so you don't see actual circles on this page, but you should see your houses there along with the numbers to help you. Okay, so now that you have located that, or once you have located where I am, then what I want you to do is listen to number 2. Number 2, Daria lives in house 14, so you need to locate house number 14. And I want you to look at the windows and the door. Look at the windows and look at the door. Which house number? House number 14. The question asks how many squares and how many rectangles make up her windows and doors. So you're going to count the squares and you're going to count the rectangles. Once you are finished counting the squares and rectangles for Daria, I'm sorry, I said Darius, but that's Daria or Daria house, you're going to put the number of squares here for house number 14. You're going to put the number of rectangles that you find in house number 14. And then what you're going to do when it says in all, what operation do you use? if you need to know how many squares and how many rectangles are there in all. So that's when you're going to use your brain after you finish counting how many squares and rectangles and tell us how many you have in all here. Again, if you need to stop or go back, please do so to listen to this once again. As of now, I will move on to number 3. I'm sorry, I'm not going to move on to number 3. Before we move on to number 3, once you have your numbers here, you're just going to transfer those numbers down in your equation here. Okay? So whatever we put here should be the same numbers that we put here to make the equation. And it's a good idea to read the equation to make sure it makes sense. Now, it's time to move on to number 3. Number 3, what two shapes form Daria's house? What two shapes form Daria's house? So again, you want to go back up to Daria's house, which is house number 14, and look at Daria's house again. And then what you want to do is to identify what simple shapes form her house. A, hexagon and rectangle. Is Daria's house made of a cylinder and triangle? Or is Daria's house made is made of rectangle and triangle? So you have 3 choices here, and remember, you only want to choose one. The choices are: is the house made of hexagon and rectangle? Is it B, cylinder and triangle, or is it rectangle and triangle? Again, refer to the information at the top for house number 14, which is Daria's house. Once you have done that, you may move on to question number 4. Number 4 is found on the back of your paper. And again, I apologize, your paper does not look exactly like this. And that's why Ms. Jones is helping you by reading it to you and also showing you where you should be. Your paper does not have houses. It does not have circles, underneath of the houses. The only thing your house has are numbers, which are number 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. But that should be enough of information to help you to tackle this question. Okay, number 4. Again, we're talking about Daria house or Daria house. Daria says her house is not like house 15. So again, this is Daria's house, and she said her house is not like house number 15. Do you agree with Daria that her house is not like house number 15, or do you disagree? So what Ms. Jones would like for you to do, if you believe that Daria's house is not like house number 15, then you're going to agree with her, and this is the word agree. If you think that Daria's house, house is like house number 15, then you're going to disagree with her. Your thumb is going to go down, and here's the word disagree. So if you agree with her that her house is not like 15, you would write down agree. If you think her house is like the house number 15, you're going to put disagree. Okay? And then what you're going to do, Ms. Jones is going to ask you to put your word disagree or agree here. Again, this is the word agree, which means that you and Daria is on the same page and you agree with her, or you disagree with her and you have a different answer about her house being like house number 15. So I should see agree or disagree, and here are the words agree and disagree right here. I should only see one word there. You're going to explain your thinking to Ms. Jones when I call you up to the table, but at least you should have your position. Either you agree with her or you disagree. Let's move on. To number 5. Number 5, you have some houses. Again, I apologize. Your paper does not look exactly like this paper. However, it's very similar. It's just not in color. There are the houses again. Ms. Jones will have them numbered on your paper. You do not see circles like you see here. The only thing you see are numbers at the bottom. Other than that, your houses should look just like those, except for these are in nice, pretty colors, and yours are not. Let's look at question number 5. Here it is. The last house has 2 windows on the front. So find the last house and see if it has 2 windows on the front. The house has a total of 10 windows. How many windows are not on the front of the house? So the last house has 2 windows in the front. The house has a total of 10 windows. So there may be some windows you can see and some windows that you cannot see. But the question is, how many windows are not on the front of the house? Well, you know the house has 10 windows. How many windows can you see? Okay? And if you know how many windows you can see and you know how many are in total, then we should be able to find the missing number of windows. Okay? You're going to draw a picture of how many you think there are, and it even helped you here. These 2 blocks are the 2 windows that are right here in the last house. So that's why they have those 2 windows. I wanted to point that out to you. So basically, they're already drawing a picture for you. Here are the 2 windows in the front, and then there are a number of windows around or in the back of the house that you can't see. However, you do know that there are 10 windows. At the bottom, they transfer the picture of your thinking to an actual equation. This 2 represents the 2 windows that you see here and the windows that you don't see. But in total, you should have 10 windows. So how many more windows are there that you don't see that will equal 10 windows? So 2 and what will equal 10? Remember, we all have friends of 10. So if you know your friends of 10, it shouldn't be difficult for you. 2 and what is 10? All right? Once you are done with those 5 questions, again, Ms. Jones always reminds you to do your best. If you need to rewind, please do so. If you need to stop and pause, you always stop and pause and think about what you're thinking. I want you to be very successful. If you get stuck, and even after rewinding and pausing does not help, please raise your hand. Ms. Jones will be more than glad to help you. Again, I know that you're going to do your best. You've been working very hard, and all we need to see you do is perform on this task. Thank you very much for listening. Once you are done, once again, you put your device and your earbuds away and turn in your paper so that I can call you up and have a conference.